Right, today I want to start off with a story. So the other day I was in the store and I was wearing this necklace, and as I was checking out, the cashier was like, "Oh wow, I really like your necklace. That's nice." And she observed it further and was like, "Wait a minute, are those teeth?" And I was like, "Yes, they're boar tusks." And she was like, "Oh, never mind." She took back her likeness for my necklace. And I didn't say nothing after that, but it got me thinking about how we very much segregate life and alienate ourselves from the true, full human experience. So when it comes to something that we're familiar with or something that we're comfortable with, we will acknowledge it. But when it comes to something that reminds us of, say for instance, in this situation, death, that's when it becomes taboo, right? So for me, wearing a necklace that has the teeth of another animal, mammal, reminds me of the life and death cycle, right? It reminds me that we are integrated in this reality to experience both ends of the spectrum, and that they in fact feed one another, so that you cannot have life but with the existence of death, and that attempting to go around death or to escape death inevitably creates more of that which you tried to get rid of. So with that understanding, you have to embrace this reality on both ends of the spectrum. We celebrate birth. It's a beautiful thing when things come in, things sprout, when we see the flowers come in and things are being born, and it's beautiful. But we have to understand that that is made possible because of another process that we don't like to look at, that we don't like to experience, but that is necessary. That's called death. One of my friends online, they posted something saying that it was something along the lines of a culture that doesn't acknowledge death is inevitably will be demised, because like I said, that's a part of the cycles of this existence, and it's much necessary and required for things to live harmoniously. When you take one equation out of that, or one part of that equation out, you have disharmony. So, and also got me thinking about how we alienate kingdoms of life, right? So this seeds on here, on this necklace, they are life too, and they're potential life. They, at some point, they have the potential to create an organism, but now they are on my necklace. So people don't have the ability to see the potential of that and how that correlates with death, but in its own right, it's another form of death, because it cut off a possibility of sprouting new life, and now is incorporated into the necklace, right? So it's just fascinating to me, because we tend to do this, and it's always assimilating or approaching what is closer to looking like us. So if it's a mammal, then we'll have more compassion for it than say a lizard or a bug. But then we have more compassion for the bug or the lizard as compared to a plant or to a fungus. So there's this hierarchy that we create that's only a representation of our own self. We project the value out into life, organisms, based on our own self. So the closer something resembles to us, the more value we tend to give it. And a lot of times we use terms like sentience. We value sentience. Why do we value sentience? And the way that we see it is because it's something that we experience. So we project that out into other animals that might have that as a quality for not harming or not utilizing or interacting with that organism. But yeah, anyways, I just wanted to share that story with y'all, because yeah, for me, I have a constant reminder of that cycle. I'm always very aware of and conscious that that's a reality that we live in. And the more I remind myself and the more I'm aware of that, and that's on the forefront of my mind, it allows me to live more consciously, and it allows me to make better decisions, and allows me to be grateful for the existence that we do exist in, that we do have, and for those people in my reality that I get to interact with, uh, it takes a lot of that taking things for granted out of the equation, because we realize at any moment we can have that same fate. That at some point there was an animal that had these tusks, that was roaming through the jungle, that was roaming through the wild, and that a part of its body ended up here on around my neck, and that I have that same potential too, to end up somewhere, parts of my bodies to end up somewhere, you know, and so that's like a humbling thing for me. Um, yeah, man, but I really want to just get on here and build and talk about different things. Peace to everybody coming in the room. I see every one of you, and I'm grateful for the follow. I'm grateful for your support, for your energy, for your attention, any type of exchange that we could have. It's a beautiful day, and I'm grateful. I wanted to discuss, though, if you have questions, put them in the question box and I'll try to get to them. I wanted to discuss community really, and just this. I feel like this is an aspect that a lot of people don't talk about, and that a lot of people want to embrace and want to come into, but maybe they haven't had enough experiences, or maybe they haven't thought about it on a holistic level, to really understand what that entails, right? So me and my family and the people around me, we're creating community. We are, and the thing about it, see, a lot of people say community, right? Like, join our community. And what's happened in the digital world, that everything is a digital community. So people say they're a part of a community, but it's really something where they maybe attend to once a week, or they have an interaction every once in a while. And I liken that a lot to like that a relationship. Like, if you're in a relationship and you and the person you're with, you guys both work, but you guys might see each other on the weekend, go out on a date, and you give each other the best parts of yourself, right? So you go on a date and everybody's happy, everybody's feeling good, but you don't really get to see the full version of that person, right? So a lot of these online communities, they're not really experiencing or showing you what it truly is like to live in communion with other organisms, other beings, other humans. So what I like in a real community is like a real relationship where you actually move in and you're actually sharing finances, you're actually sharing the same space, and you get to see the different parts of the character, the spectrum that is that person. You don't just get the best parts of them. So now you're having to deal with all different parts of them. You're having to deal with them on their good days, on the days where they don't feel so good, on the days where they might be going through some challenges, and see how they react in the midst of pressure and different circumstances. Whereas in the other case, you just saw them when they were feeling good, and if they weren't feeling good, they would cancel on your plans and y'all hang out some other day. So community is just like that. When you're in an intimate community and you guys are both living together, or all living together, I should say, as a group, and having those intimate interactions, there's a lot more chances for you to see the different facets of people's characters, and that is going to create a lot of interactions where they might be challenging, and it's going to bring out a lot of things that need to be addressed. It's going to bring out a lot of things that need to be boundaries that need to be set, and things of that nature, because now you're interacting with the wholeness of the person, not just the best part of them, or a part of them, but the wholeness of that person. So that make that distinction, because there's a lot of digital communities and online communities. I think that's great. You know, there's a purpose for them, and there's obviously a need for them if people are creating them and have a desire to join them. But this cannot be confused with actually living in the physical world, in community, close proximity to other people, and making that work as a communal life, you know, where decisions that are made that affect everybody are put forth to say, so everybody has a say so, and that you move in a way that is in alignment with the people around you. Like, that's a whole different story. And so in the midst of like trying to put that together and invite that into our existence, like, I want to outline things and make sure that I'm clear about what we're doing here, because that's going to define the type of person that we attract. But also, I know ultimately it doesn't even matter, because there's always going to be something to deal with. And if you ever want to, that's relationships. People in relationships, people are drama, right? Like, that's just the basis of it. You can't have people without having drama, because drama is just basically people dealing with their own shit. Like, there's always going to be some level of it. What you want to do is you want to have people who are willing to work on those issues, and are open to dealing with the issues openly, and are going to make some sort of effort to better themselves and see where they could be better and improve upon that every day. That's what you want to make sure that you surround yourself with, because at the end of the day, there's always going to be some level of interaction that is going to carry a friction to it. There's going to be some friction, some turmoil in some capacity, but you have to be able to tolerate that, and you have to be able to know how to deal with that and endure it. And if you want to exist in a community. So that is a very important distinction that I make, because what I want for myself and my reality is just that. I remember before heading out on this mission, before when I first started to like wake up and realize that I wanted to live life differently, that was one of my goals to find a place, or I dreamt that there was this place where you can go to better yourself, and you could be surrounded by other people who want to better themselves and want to live in a way which uplifts them to their highest potential, right? And in some regards, I do believe I found a version of that, although I don't think that I was ready at the time to embrace what I had found. And also, I wasn't in full alignment with the mission. So that's number one. You got to be in alignment with the mission. And I'm not a person that thinks that everybody should be doing what I'm doing. I just think that whatever it is that you're doing, you have to be aligned with the mission. So even if you want to live in New York and be a corporate CEO, or be a part of some corporate entity, if you align with that mission, go for that. Do that. Because otherwise, you'll put yourself in a position where you're not aligned with the mission, and you won't operate well in the mission, and you actually get in the way of that mission. So in order for you to be a part of something like somebody's building a community, you're trying to live more naturally, you're trying to grow food, things like that, you have to make sure that, first of all, there has to be a mission. It has to be well articulated. And then you have to make sure that you yourself are in alignment with that mission, because if you're not in alignment with the mission, your actions will show, and you will be a detriment to anybody who is in alignment with that mission. So in the situation that I was in at some point, I realized I wasn't in alignment with the mission, and I was ready to move forward from that. So now that I have adopted a different mission, now I want to make sure that when I articulate that mission, other people who are trying to join are in alignment with that mission. So that's the number one thing. Wherever you're at, it doesn't matter if you're working for a company, if you got your own business, if you live in the middle of a city, in the middle of a jungle, in the middle of a tribe, or you're in the military, or you're in any organization. Wherever you're at and whatever you're doing, make sure you're aligned with the mission. And if you're not aligned with the mission, then get yourself out of there and find something that you are in alignment with. Because you're going to do that organization a favor, because you're going to take that resistance, which is what you're being right now, you're going to take it out of there, and you're going to do yourself a favor, because you're going to find what you're truly in alignment with, and you're going to amplify that, and you're going to help that cause, and you will benefit and they will benefit. So it's all around a good thing. But a lot of times we stay in situations because we don't know what our mission is, or what mission we want to align with, or we don't believe that there exists that for us, or that we can find somewhere, in some place, in some organization that aligns with our values. And that's simply not the case. And if it doesn't exist, then you have to create it. If the mission that you're seeking doesn't exist yet, then it's your job to create it. So in a way, I didn't feel like that was the mission that was for me. It was close. It had some components, and I learned a lot, and I'm grateful for that. But now, moving forward, I am opening myself up for the mission that I do see, in the way that I see it. Without having to compromise on values or principles and things of that nature. So yeah, but it's intricate. It's intricate. It's a lot of moving components, so I just don't judge people for who they are, because I mean, I don't condemn them, and I accept them. People say don't trust nobody, they don't trust no one, but I say trust everybody for being exactly who they are. If you know somebody is this way, trust them to be that. If you know that they move in a certain way and they have certain tendencies, trust that. Don't not trust them, because then that means that you aren't willing to be aware enough of people to be able to have a sound judgment of them. So you're not analyzing your reality. You have to analyze your reality. You have to analyze who people are, judge them based on their behavior and how they move and how they treat you in all their actions. And then you want to trust that, you want to trust that they'll be that person until they show you evidence otherwise, So when people say like trust no one or I don't trust nothing or what, I disagree with that statement, although I think it can be articulated in a different way. So yeah, that's what it really comes down to. So I think we exist in a culture where we've gotten very comfortable being individual minded, where everybody is individual minded. And so I think it requires effort to integrate into a community, a component that includes other aspects other than yourself. So we go back to the relationship example, right? Most people's relationship types are the ones that I described, where they come together to show each other the best parts of themselves. And most people will consider that a relationship or somebody that they're dating. But in true essence, I think a relationship is more intricate than that. And to relate and really commune with somebody requires that you commune with all parts of that person. So for me, that isn't a true relationship. That is merely maybe casual sex or casual interactions. But to actually have a relationship with them, to me, it requires full openness and sharing of each other's energy and all aspects of oneself. So that could be the ugly parts of yourself, that could be the dramatic parts of yourself, the sentimental parts of yourself, the insecure parts of yourself, and also, all the positive parts of yourself, all the skills and talents that you have, and all the quirks that make you unique, all of that, But if you aren't having that experience, then you'll know once you engage in that type of relationship with somebody, you might move in with them, or you might start to get really serious. That's when it starts to get ugly, and that's when people back away usually, right? They'll break up with the person, or they'll say that person was crazy or whatever, because now they started to actually see the full components of that person, in which case they thought it was too much to handle, or they didn't want to deal with all those aspects. So they liked the aspects that they liked, which was face value, the surface, but as soon as they got deeper, it started to get challenging, and that's when people tend to move away from that situation, and they start from the top again. Once they start to get too close, too intimate, too real, they back away, and that cycle just kind of perpetuates, until they're really realizing that it's never gonna go away, right? You're always gonna have to deal with people on some level. Even people who you're highly compatible with are going to present you with challenges, and as they should, because I think that that's a part of relationships, is to make you grow and expand to greater versions of yourself. And community is the single greatest thing that I have seen that has been a catalyst of this. And let me tell you why. When you're in a relationship, you have another point of view, right? Typically it's just yourself in a point of view with your own self in your life. So if you're in a relationship with yourself, you're not dealing with anybody, you have a perception of yourself that's only based on your own self, that your own perception. So you see yourself in a certain way. As soon as you introduce another person to that relationship, now you're introducing another perception, another point of view. So what that does, it shines you back to yourself. So now you behave and act in the world, and then you get a piece of that bounced off of the person that you're dealing with, and now you're seeing a different angle of yourself. Now you're seeing parts of yourself that you weren't seeing before because you weren't getting that angle from just you. So that's what people do. So amplify that into a community setting. Say you have 10, 15 people. They're all experiencing you in a different way, and they're all seeing different parts of yourself, different angles of yourself that then get reflected back to you. So in essence, a community has the capacity to show you yourself in a way that you would never see yourself in isolation. So a lot of times when people think about nature, they want to be isolated, but they forget that humans aren't supposed to exist in isolation. We've never existed in isolation. The reason that we're able to exist in natural environments is because we have the support of other people. We have the communion of other people that allows us to exist, essentially, because that's because the pressures of living are divided amongst the members of the tribe, so that facilitates our existence. So community is the number one thing that I have experienced that has helped me to grow, because it allowed input of other perspectives about myself. So even when you're in a relationship, and a lot of people do this, right? When they get the input from the partner, they'll dismiss it, or they will take it as something like, well, you're only saying that because you're trying to win the argument, right? But in the context of a community, imagine having 10, 15 people who are all saying, yeah, you do that. That is who you are. That is your behavior. And we all observe it. And we all agree that it needs to be adjusted and there needs to be a change, because that is not conducive to the group. See, in that context, there's no running away. Or you could run away. Honestly, what you can do is you can leave the group. But in the context of that environment, you will be shown unequivocally parts of yourself that cannot be revoked unless you're not willing to confront them. So that's what that existence is going to be. It's going to be you facing yourself every day, right? So I believe that we, as humanity, those of us that come from environments like cities and highly populated areas, places where we haven't had those intimate communal experiences, I believe that we need to establish community as a large part of our healing. So a lot of people focus on, and this was me, right? I used to be the person, herbs. I used to do fasting. I used to have a very strict diet. I used to breath work, meditation, and these are all good things. They're all good components. And speaking from my experience as somebody who has fasted multiple times, 40 days on only water, who has done many juice fasts, who has taken many herbs, who has done many therapies and many different healing modalities. For me, community and being around people who are willing to hold you accountable and bring out the best versions of yourself has been the number one catalyst to my own personal growth. So a lot of times when people are trying to figure things out and they think they just need another herb, or they think they need this machine or this type of water, I just look at it like, maybe you just need community. Maybe you just need people around you who are willing to hold you accountable, who are willing to show you the parts of yourself that nobody else is willing to show you, and therefore the parts of yourself that you remain attached to, that you don't want to let go of, even though it can be the catalyst to make you grow and become better. That's truly what I think a lot of people need. Herbs are cool. Like I said, diet is cool. Fasting, all those are components, things that you can use. But the number one thing is the mind. And what we need to heal is this relationship with one another, in this relationship with ourselves. So essentially what we're talking about is dealing with the human condition, the human relationships, being human, relating to one another, having interactions, and a lot of the trauma that we have gained has been because of human relationships. So the only way we can heal a lot of the trauma that we are experiencing is through people, because we got it through people, so we got to heal it through people. And people can help us heal traumas because people were the ones that also inflicted that trauma, and that perspective that we had when we experienced that situation that allowed us to hold on to it because we looked at it in the least empowering way possible. There's people who can help you look at it in the best way possible, who can show you the situation objectively and take your attachment to that trauma away too. And I believe that community facilitates healing. I truly believe that a community environment where people are constantly holding each other accountable and are willing to grow and discuss the areas of their life that they need to grow in is the biggest catalyst for human development. And that's all I'm saying as far as healing goes, because like I said, I fasted, I've done all these things, and what I saw the most results in, because I think people get it misconstrued, right? They think that because they stop eating, or see what that does is that it tunes you into your senses of and the awareness of yourself. So a lot of people distract themselves with food. We do this with a lot of things. We do this with drugs, food. We do this with television, entertainment. But what food does, and when we stop eating it, it just tunes us into our awareness of ourselves. So as soon as you start stripping somebody from these distractions that they've had their whole life, you start tuning them to an awareness of the self. Now, just because I can tune greater awareness of myself by not eating doesn't mean I should never eat again. It just means that there's a tool. Now I have a tool for whenever I do acknowledge that I need to sit down with myself and have greater awareness. Now I can go to that tool. Now I can use that modality. But we get caught up in this thing that we need to constantly endure those things. Like if you work once and it worked for that situation, that we need to keep doing it forever in perpetuity. And that's not the case, because everything that works is a tool, and not every tool is the right tool for the job, and not every tool needs to be used all the time. So when I was fasting and doing 40 days on just water, going up to the mountain, drinking activated charcoal, doing enemas and all that business, I was seeking to find myself. I just didn't know that at the time. At the time, I thought I was trying to heal myself or trying to cleanse my body. But really what I was doing is I was taking away the distractions so that I could see myself, because I hadn't seen myself truly in my life. I had never truly seen myself for who I am. And even that process was greater in a community than it was ever in my fast. I saw myself much clearer in the midst of existing within a community than I ever did while fasting. Even on the 40th day of my water fast, I was not as keen and aware to myself, my shortcomings, my talents, all aspects of myself as I was inside a community. And I say that to say that I think that that's what we need to move forward into. And I think that that's the next level of healing for humanity and those that are interested, is to exist in that kind of environment where that kind of healing could take place. A lot of people resonate with the ancestors. A lot of people believe that they are present day, modern day reincarnations of the ancestors. A lot of people have this belief, right, that kind of makes them feel great. And you don't really know who people are until you really deal with them and until you see them under pressure. So the internet is an interesting place. You see a lot of people and they appear to be a lot of things. But in the context of a community, you can see the true depth of a person, because it's easy to post something on social media, share something on social media, and try to portray yourself to do one thing. But really, true growth is not pretty. It's not pretty. You know, true growth is kind of like, it's kind of like a car wreck. You know, like you know it's nasty. Like you gotta look. You still, like, you gotta assess it, but you know something going on there. But it's not a sight that you kind of want to see sometimes. You know, I think a lot of times what's posted on social media is just one thing, but I think it mean a lot, because I've seen be one way on social media, but then their demons come out in person, and that's just the reality of all of us. It's not even anything particular to anybody. It's just humanity. Like, anytime we bring ourselves to be one way, we have to realize there's another part of ourselves that exists as well. And even though we might not show it, share it, that is still present, and we're all dealing with. So, what I try to do with myself is just be ready. So anybody who comes in my environment, vicinity, I want to be ready to endure dealing with the different aspects of people, and know and be capable that no matter what's in my environment, that I'm going to regulate, and I'm going to be able to manage and deal with these demons, because essentially that's what people are. When they're acting up, they're emotional, they're living, they're executing their trauma, and they're projecting out. Those are literally what we would call demons. There's a sense of control, and there's something that needs to be dealt with a person. You get to see it physically play out, where you see things like domestic disputes and people going off on each other. If there's a definition for if a demon could express itself through a person, that's what it would look like. That's what it does look like. So those are all realities of people. I know that it's a spectrum of life. Like, you have the beautiful moments, right? You're gonna have times where you have made beautiful memories and experiences, but I'm not naive enough to think that there's not other parts that will be uncomfortable, that will be challenging, and that will push us to our limits and breaking point, as a catalyst to grow, as a catalyst to heal, and to recover the ability to exist in the community. Because if we exist in, have our own house, when people are nice to us, when we have disagreement with people, the comfort to go and retreat in isolation. But isolation cannot be an escape. People feel good about having a place that they can go to. They don't have to deal with the consciousness of another person pointing at your own flaws, the consciousness of another person showing you that you're not such a great person, showing you that there's aspects of yourself that aren't the nicest to look at. So if you exist in a place where you can't run away, there is no place to escape to, then you force to confront that. And as ugly as it might be, as comfortable as that might be, that is the catalyst that will propel you to be a better version of yourself. Hey. Oh, you got your butt? Say hi. Hi. To the camera. Say hello.
Hi. Look, it's
Is it? Yeah, I don't show them too much, because how social media be. You having fun? You playing with Blaze?
hi.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's. I'll always want to make sure that I disclaimer, because I think it's easy to romanticize life. It's easy to romanticize even things that are beautiful, even things that have very beautiful aspects. It's easy to undermine what that comes along with, in the kind of work that we have to do to maintain it. Even, like, say for instance, the garden. I garden off, or I make a video of the garden, and people are, man, you're so lucky, you're so fortunate. You have that garden, you're growing food, and all this, that. That's just one aspect of it. That's what you see on camera. Then there's this other aspect that I don't typically show too much, where me in the garden, trimming stuff, trimming branches, cutting grass, taking care of the land, right? And putting, energy into making sure that the trees are healthy, making sure that the plants are growing healthy, taking out the weeds that are choking out the plants that I want to grow. All these hours are spent behind the scenes tending to and there's these hours that are spent behind the scenes making things beautiful, finding ways to articulate the things that I share, finding ways to share my content and create beautiful, unique content. It's all behind the scenes, but it's easy for people to be like, wow, I want to live that lifestyle, and then find out and they're really confronted with what it takes, realizing that's not really what they want to do, and then being conflicted in their experience because nobody told them that it's going to require that of themselves. Nobody told them that it's going to require hard work and dedication, discipline. Days where you might not feel like doing it, but you do it anyways because if you don't tend to it, disease is going to take over. If you don't tend to it, it's going to die. Like the place is going to die. So it's a lot of things that I think that aren't brought to people's awareness that can get people in the right direction. Like maybe this is for you, but maybe this is for you over here. But if we only share like the aspects that are positive or that are alluring, then we will have to figure that out along the way. It can be more efficient if we share all aspects of it. In the end, it's still worth it. Like that's what I realized. It's still worth it. Even though there's going to be challenges, and that is part of the journey. And that is what makes people stronger, better. And without that, you can't get to a higher version of yourself, a better version of yourself without enduring the things that are uncomfortable. You just don't. Like there's no way. It's not how the process works. Pressure makes that diamond. Pressure that creates that beautiful work of art. All of that is necessary. And so I think attitude instead should be, well, let's endure it. Let's endure it. Because I want outcome, so I have to embrace the process. So the process is what you need to fall in love with and realize it's always going to be something. The life that you're living right now, you might not be in alignment with the morals and the principles of who you work for or how you make a living, but you still have to do something. You're still doing something right now, so why not put that energy, that dedication, that consistency that you give to people who aren't in alignment with your morals and values, give it to something that you are in alignment with. Give that much dedication and effort. Be on time for something that you believe in. And if we can move like that in civilization, if we can go to our jobs and have careers and go to college and be that educated in civilization, can we do that for ourselves and our community, natural world? Can we give much of ourselves to something that can create a better world, a better tomorrow, a better future for those of us that will be here, for our children that will still be here? So that's what coming into community means. It's dedicating yourself. It means choosing to be disciplined and enduring what it takes, not just for yourself, but for the greater group, and not just for the group, but for the future versions of yourself, for the future of yourself as yourself, but also as your children and as your descendants and those who will follow after we are gone, that we can put that blueprint and that we can go through the necessary process to become those versions of ourselves. So that's for today. Community is intimate, comes with a lot, and it comes with different struggles and different challenges. It's necessary, and it's what catapults us to different parts of ourselves, to higher parts of ourselves, better parts of ourselves, if we are willing to do the work, if we are willing to listen to what those around us are saying, if we're willing to just pay attention and be aware. That's what being conscious is, having awareness. So it's not easy. It's not. I'm gonna tell you it's easy, but it's worth it, and it's necessary. So going forward in the near future, I'll be talking more about what we're building as soon as we create a well-articulated vision for what we're doing. I will share that, and it's coming. But if you have any interest, feel free reach out. We are looking to create this in a physical form where people can come and commune with us, and if they're fit, integrate in the community. We're looking to create a curriculum, education, skills and talents that people have, incorporate those and use for the community. So you know how to sew, clothing, that could be an asset. If you have well with children, or education, that could be an asset in the community. If you are good at growing food and have a lot of knowledge on growing food, that could be an asset in the community. Anybody who has a skill and a gift, and we all have a gift. If you haven't found it out, I will make your number one priority to figure out what that gift is and to offer it to the world. So different things like that are needed, and just excited. I'm excited to see what happens. Like I said, reach out, DMs. I'm gonna be thinking about it more going forward, but I just wanted to give whoever is listening right now in the room a little sneak peek, an opportunity to connect on that topic. So putting it out there, I put it out a little bit, and I had some people hit me up, so I figured like it's the time now. Family's growing, our community's growing, and so I want to have people who are like-minded around, and I want to invite the energy around, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it works out, how it plays out. So hit me up. Let me see. So I have some questions. I've already kind of answered these. So yeah, if you're interested in anything that I spoke about in regards to community, if you resonate with it, and if you feel like there's something that you contribute the asset of, hit me up, because we need people, we need each other. We need more components and different perspectives, and that I believe is how we grow. Yeah, just DM me. Just DM me, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So that's it for y'all. Peace out to everybody that was in the room. Sorry I didn't get to the messages, but I'm about to get off. All right. Yeah, just hit me up and we'll connect. Yeah, peace out everybody in the room. I will see you all next time. Balance.